Hi guys, this is Louise Matson, intuitive channel, way shower, conduit for energy healing. This is January the 11th, and I woke up this morning with some channeling coming through around energetic resonance and being aware of the gap between your resonance and possibly your external realities, or what you're experiencing in the outer reality. So, regardless of whether it's conscious or unconscious, it's part of your soul's evolutionary journey to experience energetic dissonance with those that are around you. It's all part of the path, it's part of the process. And this morning's musing has come about because I channeled an activation yesterday as part of a free gift for the Wisdom of the Ancient Summit that I'm going to be on the 28th of January, which was all around disconnecting energetically from all of the communication constructs that we are attached to and that are limiting us from our ability to be a clear and open channel, a clear and perfect channel to our highest wisdom, highest guidance, and that which is limiting us from really embodying our truth. So there's different ways that this can happen, and different reasons as well, and different ways that we can experience this energetic dissonance, this gap. So whether you're consciously aware of it or not, it doesn't matter. You've been doing the work. Your soul's journey has been to evolve, and you will find yourself at a point where the people who you felt very comfortable fitting in with, you had the same ideals, you seemed to want the same things in life, you were going in the same direction, you had the same there were the same things that brought you all together in those moments that you came together. And as with all things, there are reasons that people come together at certain points in life. Some people say there's a lesson, a blessing, or a reason. But on this journey of soul evolution, the embodiment of our truth, these change. Things change as we raise in frequency. And as we raise in frequency, if the people around us are not on the same path, we suddenly find ourselves in a position where there's a gap between the frequency, our frequency, and theirs. It isn't right or wrong, it isn't good or bad, it just is. It's just one of those things. But it's what you do with it at that point that counts. And a lot of people avoid the gap. And I can speak from personal experience of this on my own journey. A lot of people are very conscious of this gap and try to pretend and then start denying their truth. You may be called by your inner knowing to change certain aspects of your life. You know, it may be your dietary habits. You may be called to drink purified water or eat more organic food, or to stop eating meat altogether, or completely shift to a vegan, raw, or fruitarian diet. Or you may be being called to leave a particular job or leave a particular relationship. So this shift in frequency, this shift in your inner knowing, as your frequency raises, can also show up in your belief systems. Being able to kind of go along with the crowds is no longer possible. You're having really clear knowing of what you feel is true and false and what is right and wrong, and this may be completely against the mainstream narrative, can be really difficult to deal with. If you believe one thing and you feel like you're this single voice in a crowd of voices saying the complete opposite, you know, that can be hard. It can be a very lonely path. It can be very challenging. It may be that you no longer connect with certain ideas, or you can't be around certain people who are radiating a certain frequency, particularly a lower vibrational frequency like fear or anger. You can't be around people who are in constant fear or constantly see things in a negative way, or you may not be able to watch the mainstream media anymore, or feel that you can't watch the news or certain programs because you no longer want to watch violence and disruption, whatever it may be. And some people will try to continue to live the life that they lived before, regardless of this new sense of knowing, this new inner truth, this new connection to their inner truth due to their raise in frequency. And this can lead to people becoming increasingly uncomfortable, trying to fit in where they used to fit in naturally, but there's this gap in frequency between yourself and the people, beliefs, the situations. And this really is because of the gap, the gap in frequency, the gap in resonance. And this gap this gap has been felt by me for a long time, throughout most of my life, at various different points. As a channel, as a child, I always said, I am a clear and perfect channel. That was always my mantra. And so basically, that has energetically manifested so that my journey has been quite literally to clear my field, to clear myself, to become that which I said was my intent. What we put out there, we create, and we're creating our reality all the time. So I was saying, I'm a clear and perfect channel, and therefore my whole life has been about becoming just that, a clear and perfect channel. So my whole life has been about releasing myself from all of those attachments and connections energetically to people, beliefs, ideas, and places, whatever, that I've been connected to, that's been limiting or keeping my vibration at a certain level. So this gap that I originally felt was the gap between where I was energetically and the energetic communication, the transmissions, as it were, that were coming through. So whether you want to see them as beings that I was channeling, because that's how I saw them at the beginning, I had issues at the beginning with the feeling of being mad, and the fear of being mad. And so I wouldn't have anything to do with embodying these transmissions. I had them outside of myself. They were separate to me. It was as if I was having a conversation with something or someone that I was channeling, something very separate to me. And so the gap that I felt quite extremely physically within my body, and I felt it as extreme heat. So when I was channeling a so-called being outside of myself, of a much higher vibration to my own, I would feel it physically. It was as if I was suddenly encountering a furnace. I would feel it as heat because I used to feel energy as heat or coldness. And I would start sweating profusely. I mean, I would literally, sweat would be dripping from me. But this was just the gap in frequency. This was just the gap in the energetic resonance between myself and this higher intellect, this transmission of light that I was receiving, downloading, and interpreting. So now we find ourselves in the opposite, in 2020, 2021, where a lot of people are finding themselves in this opposite vein, where they're starting to increase their frequency, and yet the frequency around them is remaining the same, is remaining within this lower frequency, the frequency of the mainstream media news, the fear, the anger, whatever it is. Now, that frequency is not going to change anytime soon. So, you're going to feel a difference as you allow that transmission to connect with your field, as your frequency is raising and you connect in with that lower vibrating field. Then you're going to feel that difference. You're going to feel that gap. if the frequency of the people around you is not changing to the same extent that you are, you're going to feel that gap forming. Now, initially, in the early stages, it's not going to feel that much, but it can become, like it did for me, quite strong and physical. You can literally feel it in your body. I had a shift when I let go of the fact that what I was channeling was not separate to me. And I allowed myself to transmit the energy through my clear and perfect channel, through the column of light that I am, through the center of my torus field, and fully accept and acknowledge that this was not separate. This energy was not separate to me, it was me. And I remember somebody saying, when you channel, you're just talking to yourself. And I said, yes, I know, I am. But I'm talking to a much higher vibrational aspect of myself that is not embodied in this physical form right now. And that is what I'm channeling. That is what channeling is. So regardless of whether things show up as Jesus or Mother Mary or dragons or unicorns or fairies, it doesn't matter. They are merely representations that work for you in that moment, but they are higher vibrational aspects of you, because we are all one. We're all connected to all consciousness. Everything is us. The trees, the plants, the animals, they're all us. You, me, we're all the same, one and the same, but we haven't got to that point of full acceptance and acknowledgement of that yet. So a lot of people may be able to accept this concept cognitively, but haven't really fully embodied this knowing within them. And that's basically the journey that we're all on. So this gap is created, and what we choose to do with it determines our experience in our physical reality. If we remain in situations where we remain attached and connected to these lower vibrational constructs, then we will feel more and more discomfort as our vibration increases. Or we will cap our vibrational increase. We will literally hold ourselves, creating a glass ceiling for ourselves. Now, a lot of people feel that they get to a point where they can't get beyond it. They feel like they're blocked. And this is because you don't want to. Quite frankly, it's us that is blocking ourselves. For whatever reason, there is something that is saying, I don't want to go beyond this point. I don't want to leave these people. I don't want to leave this situation. I don't want to leave this job. And I'm putting a block. I'm putting a ceiling on my evolution, on what I allow. Now, this isn't necessarily going to be something you consciously say to yourself. It's not like you're going to look in a mirror and say this to yourself, but this is energetically a decision that is being made. Because we are the only ones that are blocking ourselves. And yes, they may be unconscious to us in this moment, but that's also what the work is, to find out and gain an awareness in whatever way, shape or form on what it is that is blocking us. And if that means connecting with another person to get a more objective, disconnected view of ourselves, then so be it. Or whether it's reading a book or listening to a podcast, it can be anything. I mean, I've had insights watching Moana, a Disney production, a film, and I've had insights reading a completely random book and having a conversation with somebody. Because the universe, your highest aspect of self, the you that is the all that is going to bring you the perfect next step to your evolution. So what was really calling me this morning was to talk about this gap in the energetic resonance, and that this journey is really about allowing ourselves to fully disconnect from all of the attachments that we've energetically made to all of the automatic programs that are running in our operating system, the attachments that we have to communicating in a certain way, or that we have to certain platforms, with the programs that we've been encoded with, the agreements and contracts that we've signed knowingly or unknowingly, consciously or unconsciously. For example, Facebook and Instagram have an implied consent. If you use their app, then you acknowledge that they own your camera on your phone and can utilize it at their will, that they have access to everything that you do on your phone, regardless of whether it's connected to their application or not. And that is implied by your usage of their platform. So that is a contract energetically that you've signed up to. Because everything that we do, every connection and attachment that we make is, in a way, a contract. We're saying, I agree to this. So if your frequency raises and you feel that separation from people, energies that no longer resonate, so things like, to certain things like slave labor or child trafficking or death and destruction, all those things, then you might feel that you can no longer participate in those arenas and those aspects of the outer reality. And that may include where you spend your money, because where we spend our money is an energetic contract that is saying, I agree to this. So whatever the company may stand for, you're saying, I agree to all of this, all of the wider, I see them as webs or branches on a tree, all those wider connections to this singular decision that we're making. I agree to it all. So one of the things that I've found on my journey is that it no longer feels comfortable for me to buy from big companies whose morals, policies and behaviours are not in resonance with my own vibration, my own beliefs anymore. So I feel I can no longer play in that pool, in that cesspit at times. And I find myself finding companies who are ethically and energetically in alignment with my frequency. I find myself shopping in completely different ways. I'm shopping far more locally. I'm more conscious about where the products are coming from. And recently a client stated in a session that she was still feeling that she was being affected by the food that she's eating and having major reactions. And Source's response to her was, you have to be aware of the journey, the energetic journey of whatever it is that you're ingesting. Whether it's food, whether it's water, whether it's information, it doesn't matter. It's all gone through a journey. So you get to the point where you just can't go in a supermarket anymore and buy a mass-produced item, because that item has gone from its original state and has travelled through many energetic hands, if you like. It's gone through processes and people. Even if the food has gone through an absolutely beautiful process, if the delivery driver had a really bad day that day, his mood is going to impact on the energetic signature of what is being delivered. So everything that has touched energetically anything else is affecting and impacting on it. So for me, it's really been about simplifying everything. And there's also, cleansing. So being more conscious about cleansing whatever items have entered my field. And so that has become more and more of an important aspect of this journey as my frequency has raised. When you raise your frequency, for me, it really has been about simplifying my life, cutting out the middlemen, because I don't know what their energetic signature is or has been, or the impact that it would have had on what I've been purchasing, on what I've been ingesting, inviting into my field. So for me, I'm looking for a piece of land that I can grow my own food, and that I can put the love and energy into that food that's grown, and I know the journey that it's been on. I've started making my own clothes in terms of the felting that I do, and I've started shifting into buying organic cotton clothing from ethical sources. I've got a water distiller to purify the water, and I'm looking to move out of the city and into a more natural environment, again, to reduce the energetic signature and clarify the energetic signature of the landscape that I'm connected with and attached to. Now, that is what a lot of people may find at this moment in time as we all go through this process, because the vast majority of the outer reality is not in resonance with our frequency as our frequency raises. But ultimately, the aim of the ascension process, as it were, is to raise the frequency exponentially of the reality that is around us all, so that we are in resonance. It can sometimes feel like we have, as we traverse along this ascension process and raise our frequency, become more restricted. We go on this journey and we become more restricted in what we're able to do. But ultimately, we're aiming to get to a point where everything expands again, because the energy of the processes, the energy of the people, the energy of the land becomes higher, raises as our vibration raises, that ripple effect, and everything becomes in resonance again. So there won't be that gap, because all of the lower frequencies have raised up to what was a higher frequency. So if you like, the third dimension raises up through the fourth dimension into the fifth. In fact, what I'm being shown is the shift into New Earth is very much like the gap that I felt when I landed and incarnated into this body, still very much aware of myself as a high frequency soul, but was like, oh my goodness, I can't even describe how I felt. It was like walking through treacle, just feeling the pain, feeling the anger, feeling all of the lower vibrational energies around me, and basically shutting myself down as a coping strategy, because I couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle the gap. The gap was just too immense. But we're moving towards the opposite, where the majority of the planet, the majority of consciousness on the planet is vibrating at the high frequencies, if you like. It's vibrating at fifth dimension. And yet there will be the minority of people, the minority of objects, aspects, that for whatever reason, and there's absolutely no judgment, they're struggling to let go of all the attachments to the third dimension, lower fourth dimension, and remaining in those lower vibrations. And they will feel the gap. They will feel the gap that the majority of the people would have experienced, when they originally incarnated. So the majority of the people will be experiencing unity consciousness and the raised frequency of the whole planet, and yet there will be some people who will be feeling the gap and be maintaining those low frequencies, not willing to elevate their frequency to the higher global consciousness to be in resonance. So, everybody's journey is their journey, and it's all perfect and not to be judged in any way. And, one of the reasons that we don't judge it as we progress through our soul's evolution, as we raise our consciousness level, as we raise our vibration, is because we've all been there. We've all had what I like to call the ostrich moments. I used to say that I had an ostrich tendency, but all it was cognitive dissonance. All it was me saying, I'm not ready. I know there's this gap. I know there is this shift, and I'm not ready to take it. I want to stay here. And that's where a lot of people are at. And they want to stay where they feel comfortable. And there will be a point, or there won't be a point for each person, where they either maintain this stance and remain in their comfort zone within the lower vibrations, or where the grit in the oyster shell, as it becomes the pearl, becomes too much, too aggravating, too out of resonance with their reality. The gap becomes too huge, too out of resonance with their truth, that wants to embody and is ready to embody, that the dam bursts and the frequency shifts occur. And at that point, the decision will be made let go of that which is no longer serving, which they're holding on to, and which people are holding, which is holding people back. So, all is perfect and in perfect timing, and everybody has their own individual path, their own individual journey, and it will be a journey of ups and downs, highs and lows, and there will be moments where we all stick our head in the sand and go, la la la, I'm not listening, I'm not ready, I can't do this. So that's what wanted to be shared, that's what came through from Source today. So I just wanted you all to connect with that message, and just to say, go gently with yourselves, don't be harsh with yourselves. We are our own worst enemies in terms of our own inner critic. So yeah, go gently and mind the gap. So much love.